thank you to Kabako and Korean Communications. It's really a pleasure to be here. It's my first time in Korea, so I'm experiencing some great food, some interesting culture, and I'm enjoying my week so far. Just before I start, I thought I'd give you a bit of background on myself. I've been in television pretty much since I left school, and I'm quite an old man nowadays. So I started my career in television in 1989 with Sony. And it's always been a great passion of mine, from analog to digital, and now all these fantastic OTT platforms. Really interesting to hear about Disney and the AI in the last presentation really fascinates me. I work at Publicis now, and you might be thinking, why is someone in Publicis talking about OTT in television? Well, for me, my experience in television and what we do in Publicis is about improving experience and helping people engage more in platforms. And as I go through my presentation about the Middle East, and I heard from Taiwan, OTT is a very competitive landscape. So for me, it's about how do you keep people on the platform? How do you retain? Content's one thing, but can you build stuff with loyalty? Can you look at gamification to improve? And as I go through now on the Middle East, we're going to look at the trends across the region. And hopefully there's some crossover with what you experience. And I think due to demographics and other things, there might be a few differences as well. So I hope this isn't going to be too PowerPoint heavy, and I'll try and talk over most of the slides. So the Middle East market is a rapid growth market. The internet penetration in the Middle East is huge. Nearly everybody has access, and smartphone usage is crazy. Penetration in some markets is over 90%, so really huge. So when we look at Middle East market, I think some people still love to watch their content on big screens. In the Middle East, it's very different. It's consumed on a mobile-first environment. And we spoke about content. We've seen a few presentations around different content. In the Middle East, and when I go into some data later, you'll see that actually local produced content is what makes the OTT platform successful. So there's a huge passion and demand to consume local content. And what it's done, it's been able to bring Middle East audiences together. So something produced in Egypt on OTT now gets great viewership in Dubai, Saudi, and it creates really nice communities across borders. And I really like that. So when I talk more, you'll see when Netflix come in, Netflix does have great penetration. It has great Hollywood content and lots of other content, but you'll see local players, because of their local content productions, are actually way above in terms of market share. So pretty interesting. In terms of subscription, SVOD is very popular. It's the normal way everybody's consuming content now. But also AVOD is creeping up. So, you know, the Middle East market's quite diverse. There's obviously Dubai and Saudi. There's a lot of wealth, but there's also markets where you need to reach environments where people are happy to consume content in exchange for receiving adverts. So AVOD is on the move as well. So that's growing pretty rapidly. And then another thing we talk about in Middle East is government regulation. So content in the Middle East, whilst it's the regulation is relaxed, there's still very stringent regulation over what you can show and what you can't show. So when we're acquiring content in region, and if people want to bring content to the Middle East, that's something you have to be very wary of if you want to sell your content into the environment. It has relaxed a lot, but it's still something to bear in mind. I know when I first came to the Middle East, I used to work in one of the telcos, and they had a whole team of people dedicated to receiving every piece of video content that would come into the country, and they would have to remove every swear word, every piece of stuff that we shouldn't really be seeing. So in some cases, and I remember, I think a funny one was Wolf of Wall Street. I think that movie ended up being like 45 minutes because of all the content that had to be removed. So the whole story was missed. So something to bear in mind in the Middle East. Yeah, and the investment in local content is absolutely huge now. So all the big media players, platforms, NBC, which is like one of the largest private broadcasters in the region, they have a platform called Shahid. Their investment in local production to stay ahead of the market is one of the things that they're doing. But then on top of that, now we're starting to see more and more international partnerships where we're taking fantastic production and drama from Middle East, partnering with Western production and producing something that actually really helps expose the Middle East in a good way to an international audience that may not have ever seen it before. Great dramas coming out of Cairo. People start to see how the infrastructure of Egypt is, how Egypt's working, all through these great collaborations and cooperations between many companies. So it's really fantastic. Technology adoption. Now, I think when I look at what's happening in Korea and what I've just seen with AI in Taiwan, there's a little bit behind in the Middle East in terms of where we are. But the rate of technology and innovation is huge. And this is something I like to play in. For me, I believe in personalized and hyper-personalized engagement. And how do you keep people on your platform? People are paying money to be on your platform. And I think one of the questions earlier was about how do you go across, people are on multiple platforms. And normally they're switching because there's some different content. But in some cases, there's many content that cross over. So how do you engage with your customers? How do you keep them on your platform? So some of the things that I've been looking at are loyalty in terms of consumption on platforms. So you get rewarded for everything you watch, everything you share, everything you recommend to friends. We've created metaverse environments for people to watch a movie together. So my father lives in UK, I live in Dubai. Maybe we want to watch a sport event together. The only way we can do it is jump into a metaverse environment and sit in a virtual world, but have that interaction together that we could only get as a second best to being sat next to each other on the sofa. So I think there's plenty of opportunity to grow out what's happening in the OTT space, and I think it's driven by engagement and experience. And as I spoke about earlier, mobile-first strategies in the Middle East are vital because most of our demographic in the Middle East is under 30 years old. I'll give you an example. Saudi Arabia is a 35 million person country. 65% are under 30 years old. So I think these factors, when you're entering a market and you're looking at a market, they're very important that you can have mobile-first strategies. And then in our markets, the big TV part is actually a secondary piece. And then, of course, revenue. How do you keep driving revenue, combining subscriptions and advertising to keep maximizing profitability on your business? If I touch upon personalization, I don't mind receiving ads in platforms if they're personalized to me. And this is where I think advertisers and platforms need to combine all of the data, viewing habits, other data from third-party sources to be able to drive new revenue streams by using personalized advertising through platforms. So I don't want to receive an advert for, let's say, baby stuff, but I'd be quite happy to watch an advert for golf equipment. And I think if you can understand your data layer and understand what's driving your viewer behavior and who your viewers are, I think you can capture a lot more revenue through these platforms because they're very personable. And of course, the audience is engaged while you're watching them. So I think there's a few things there. Maybe these are a bit different to what happens in other markets, but hopefully there's a bit of crossover with what you see too. And another massive thing in the Middle East is esports and gaming. So the ability now to integrate and stream esports, the audience for this is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. In fact, in one area of Dubai, there's a new district called, I forget what it's called, but the whole neighborhood is developed around esports and gaming. So you get an apartment, it's all within an esports and gaming community. And gaming content within these platforms also encourages users to stay on the platform longer. You can advertise at them. So it's another good revenue stream, and it's a great sticky way to keep users on your platform. And something that's close to me is the user experience. I always want to have a fantastic user experience when I go into any of these platforms. And the ones that I stay on are the ones that give me those best experiences. And I think that's the same everywhere. Another thing in Middle East for quality and growing out the actual quality of what people can see and improve streaming capability is there's a huge 5G rollout across the region. And I think that's, going to drive even better quality, and people are going to be able to watch from all over the place, even in more remote regions. So this is another big part of the Middle East. And again, cultural sensitivity. I can't stress this enough. The global content with cultural sensitive material and being able to adhere to regional sensibilities. We have in the Middle East the Ramadan, which is the big festival in the Middle East. Once a year, it lasts for 1 month. This is the time of year when the most content is consumed, but the content that's consumed during this religious holiday period needs to be made sure that it's suited for the local audience, I should say. And just within the deck, a lot of the research that I've done to support this, there's a lot of links there that you'll be able to find when you watch the deck at home or later on. And now to look at, a few of the numbers. In 2023, the OTT revenues exceeded $1 billion. That's a 13% growth on the previous year. And we're expected to get to that revenue to 1.2 billion in 2024, driven by platforms like Shahid, who've got 22% market share in the Middle East, and Stars Play, which are 18% market share. That's from a local magazine called Broadcast Pro. What's interesting about that, I spoke earlier about the big international players with Hollywood content. These guys focus on local content, and that's what's driving their market share above the others. And I'll show a slide later where you'll see exactly how that is. And because of that local content, the resonation with audiences are huge. I mentioned Ramadan earlier. Shahid will have pure shows focused on that holiday period. So looking at the timing of the year and the holidays and the seasonality, so this local production during the holiday period captures most of the audience. The esports sector, which we spoke about, integration onto OTT platforms of live streaming and gaming content combined. The Cricket World Cup and Rugby World Cup, this is Stars Play, they're going to bring those and stream them live. So this just encouraging more and more audience into the platform and stickiness. And 5G I spoke about before. So this is just a graph of the market share, as I spoke about. So there you can see Shahid, local production, local platform, followed by Stars Play, then Netflix. So it's quite a drop down between 18 to 12%. And this really kind of emphasizes the need and importance for local production or co-productions that are produced in region. They get a lot of excitement. And the other thing in region, there's many other platforms, as you can see, 48%. So there's many competitors, big competitive environment. And we also face a lot of issue in Middle East with a lot of like these fire sticks that you plug into your TV for free. So people like Shahid, people like Stars Play really need to invest in quality, ease of use, and good quality content to avoid being swallowed up by these free pirate streaming services. So really important. And there's just my summary graph of really a big ramp up in people consuming because of all the platforms, because of all the content, because of the mobile first strategies, 5G, AI, All of these things are working together to drive considerable growth in region. And because of this considerable growth, there's considerable revenue to be made from advertising and so on and so forth. So that's a quick review of the Middle East. I'm delighted to take any questions. If you want to catch up with me afterwards and talk about the Middle East, I'd be more than happy to. But
Yes.
once again, I'd like to extend my thanks to everybody here for inviting me and listening to me today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We
감사합니다.
really appreciate it. Yes. And please stay here. We have questions for you.
Thank you.
So we already collect these questions in advance, and we will choose only 2 for our speakers. So the first question is this. We believe that sports and gaming, as you mentioned, are the kind of genre that transcend linguistic barriers. So we are also aware of the fact that these sport contents are very popular in the Middle East as well. So on OTT platforms, how can they utilize these sporting contents or esports gaming to make our users more satisfied and happier? So any ideas? Like live streaming events or linking it with offline events, would these activities make our users more satisfied? So I'll give you 1 minute to think about it.
No,
Let
it's
me
fine. No,
say that's in Korean.
you.
Yeah. 저희가 첫 번째 질문입니다. 이번 첫 번째 질문은요. 그 스포츠나 게임 이런 장르는 이제 언어의 장벽을 뛰어넘는 장르라고 생각을 하는데 중동에서도 각종 스포츠가 인기가 있는 것으로 알고 있다. 그래서 OTT에서 이런 e스포츠나 게이밍, 스포츠 이런 콘텐츠를 이용해서 이용자에게 어떻게 더 만족감을 줄 수 있을까요? 라는 질문이었습니다. 대답 들어보겠습니다. Now please answer the question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm a great believer in this, and what I'm seeing, as I spoke about earlier, esports and gaming are important to bring into platforms, and combining these games with live events. I mean, I spoke to some people the other day about bringing proper, in the Formula One, I like the Formula One, but being able to have a game where you can race the car live whilst the Formula One's on. So bringing that real engagement that keeps people immersed in the live event, participating somehow, and bringing it all together. And communities, I also think, are important. I don't think there's enough emphasis on communities at the moment. We know sport is a great community event. Being able to have platforms where you can bring people into rooms and join together so they can watch sport together from remote locations. I also think platforms can leverage their technology to do this and bring something much better and enjoyment for fans and so on and so forth.
Thank you very much. Last question. The second question is about cultural sensitivity. So when you go global, you definitely have to think about cultural sensitivity. You should never forget about it, right? So when you import content from abroad that will go into the OTT platforms, what are some of the important factors that you consider carefully from the perspective of cultural sensitivity? 1 minute to think about. 두 번째 질문은 이거였습니다. 저희가 글로벌로 진출을 할 때 놓쳐서는 안 되는 부분이 또 이 문화적 감수성이라고 생각을 합니다. 그래서 OTT에 넣을 그런 콘텐츠를 우리가 해외에서 수입을 할 때, 그럴 때 문화적 감수성 차원에서 어떤 부분을 좀 주의 깊게 생각해야 됩니까? 라는 질문에 대한 답변을 이제 해주실 겁니다. Now please answer the question.
Yeah, I think for me, from a pure Middle East perspective, the cultural sensitivity is one of the most important things. And if you want to bring your content into the region, you have to be kind of sure that it's going to fit with the Middle East culture. So you kind of don't want to touch upon religion, political sensitivity, and then there's certain things like around different vice and pornography and things like that. You cannot, under no circumstances, try to bring that in, and you would be deeply offending the buyers of your content if you were to present that kind of material. So if you want to do business and you want to get your quality productions in, certain ones you might have to exclude, but others you could bring in. And if you have to adapt and edit a little bit, that's normally done locally. So each piece of content is screened before it goes out. Then that's normally the best way to start building a relationship, that you understand the region and then your content can be consumed by the Middle East customers. But yeah, I can't stress enough on that. Very important for people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wallis. That's it for today. So
Thank you
now-
very much.
Yes, you
Thank
may
you.
go back to your seats. 여러분 오늘 공연을 나눠주신 월리스 이사님께 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.
Thank you.
감사합니다.